patriot or warmonger. His father had won the Medal of Honor, but Douglas MacArthur succeeded as his own self-made hero. He was America's square-jawed military genius, a man of boundless political ambition, a publicity hound who became legendary in his own lifetime. A complex and rebellious leader, blasphemous towards authority, reverent to his personal moments. He was the strategical warrior who spearheaded our troops to great military victories. MacArthur! The towering military figure of our time, as insubordinate, uncontrollable, and controversial as any figure in history. That was the back cover of the novelization of today's film. Why did you think a biopic got a novelization? What could I possibly say that I'm not going to say in the cast proper? The existence of that book is all the planning you need for the tone of MacArthur, which follows him from the fall of the Philippines till he gets totally fired for trying to start World War III. Was he really trying to start World War III? Or was it the pencil pushers in Washington failing once again to understand his military genius? Despite his track record of saving Japan from itself? Does Gregory Peck disappear into the role of General Douglas MacArthur? No. Today on Hinge Problems, as we review director Joseph Sargent's MacArthur.
Totally scarring warmovis.
Welcome to Hinge Problems. This isn't a podcast. This is a half a podcast and immoral compromise with evil. I'm Rudy.
Chris.
I'm Tigris.
I'm Shug, and I explicitly told Castro to go to Bataan. And then, oh no, he was in the Death March.
I did that. That was me. No.
Well, I'm just glad. Jesus could come down and see his men and just really go, yeah, must have been tough for you. Anyways, I'm gonna go back to a hot meal and a shower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was riding that private train around Australia, but whew, you guys had it rough. Later.
This movie really impressed me with how much I hated General Douglas MacArthur by the end of it, I gotta say.
Yeah. I think the movie didn't hate General Douglas MacArthur, but I sure as shit did by the time this movie was over.
If this is even remotely accurate to this dude.
The movie wants to project the image of a complicated but flawed man, but genius, of course, so we have to respect him. He was a great figure of history, and as it continues, it slides deeper and deeper into hagiography. So you're supposed to see it as an elegy for an old soldier that's fading away, and it doesn't really work. Anyway, I guess that's my thesis.
Yeah.
See everybody later, or shall I return? Hard to say. I'm back.
Yeah, I mean, just to get out of the way here, I think this movie would have been a lot better if it was entirely about like the bit where he retakes the Philippines. Like, because
it is just very unfocused.
Yeah,
it's very unfocused, and like on a very large scale, it just sort of felt like it was playing with like a time whammy bar, where like all of a sudden, hey, 3 years just jumped, or like, and now we're gonna focus on him for like this period of time, and then we're gonna jump again, and it was very annoying. And
well, because it just feels like reading, and I wanted to go back to the point of like it feels like the film is trying to do this image of a complicated man, and yet it absolutely cannot wash off what MacArthur was, because it's also just trying to show what he did. It's like so much of the film is just showing he did this thing, and like you look at those things and you have such a clear, especially from our leftist view, we have such a clear idea of what he was doing.
It's like, wow, this guy sure colonized a lot of shit for America, didn't he?
And it doesn't even like you get it's a very traditional biopic in a sense, in that it's just sort of hopscotching between major points and events in his life. But it literally starts after, it's bracketed by his no longer in the military, finally, speech as an elderly man in at West Point. But the actual body of his story starts when he's 62 years old. And
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they are, after he's been called back into active duty and is retreating from the Philippines.
Yeah,
And then you get World War II, you get Korea, you get trying to start World War III and getting fired finally. And so you don't get the first 6 decades of this man's life where he was like, I only did very light reading for this. Like, World War II generals aren't really my thing, so I don't have much of a background in this at all, even as a dilettante, amateur, not really a historian, idiot. My very brief reading, there's a line in this wherein they're related to how they're going to treat the occupation of Japan, which he ruled over as some sort of weird quasi warlord for a long time. Which
Yeah.
again, they don't detail very much because they're cramming everything in. But like, he spent most of his adult life, it seems like, from what I read, he spent decades of his life on sort of a military station tour around the Pacific. And he just says, I have spent, in the movie, it just says, I have spent my whole life studying the Oriental mind. Like, okay, that
All right,
doesn't
man.
mean anything.
Yeah,
That doesn't
it's
mean
like-
anything to me as a viewer.
Yeah, and feels weird and creepy and racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, everyone watching this in 1977 more or less would know the story of Douglas MacArthur, but like, so he was just in charge of whatever military presence America had in the Philippines because, hey, America has colonies too. Let's not mention that.
Mhm.
Oh god,
So was that also like sort of a governorship of the Philippines, or just in charge of the military presence in the Philippines?
I
My,
think just
my
the
understanding
military
is,
presence.
yeah. And he had been stationed there in previous, like on and off, he had been stationed there. He was specifically responsible for, like a decade or so earlier, he was just, I want to mention this because it keys into the whole colonialism thing. Uh, a specific group of local troops, I think it was the Philippine Scouts, who were allied with the American forces during the Philippine-American War. They got understandably mad after a few decades of being treated like shit by compared to all of the American troops, and they rebelled. And he was very instrumental, or that's what I read, in putting them down. So having him behave as a beloved patriarchal figure to Filipino characters in this was pretty.
But yeah, it was rough as fuck.
It gets to the problem of this movie in that, like, one of the big problems of this movie, there's a whole lot of problems with this movie, but one of the big problems with this movie is every time they get near anything that might be a complex ethical thing at all, because this has to be a hagiography biopic, they just right away walk away from it. Just, nope,
Yeah.
we're not going to deal with that. Hey, what about the America having a colony in the Philippines that's run by this dude? What? No, we're not going to talk about that at all. He's a great guy. Let's go.
He wants to save the Philippines. He loves the Philippines. MacArthur's woke.
I'm so sorry, I'm leaving.
Yeah, 5 minutes of him like, I don't want to leave. It's like, and like, but even in that context, it is a little bit complex in that, like, you don't entirely buy MacArthur saying he doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
No.
The movie does make a big point of, like, he's flamboyant. He's obviously like a master of PR. Other characters are aware of that, and they sort of ironize his own thing through every once in a while. Like, there are people who are sick of his shit and unimpressed with him, and we don't spend a ton of time with them, but we do get that point of view, but that tends to get there's multiple references to the general people aides telling reporters to shoot him from a low angle because he likes that.
Yeah, I only say that about 5 times.
Addresses that he is a vainglorious blowhard in a lot of ways, what hits a lot harder than that. They really hit the whammy bar on, oh yeah, but he is a military genius, but he does really care about his men, but this, that, and the other thing. And the glories of his wartime genius, I think, really outweighs and washes away all of the any critique that the movie is making.
Well, I don't quite get I understand the MacArthur himself being a blowhard, but y'all saying that impression of him, for me, he always just comes off as this weird, sad man, which I guess is all old blowhards, but he doesn't even feel like a blowhard to me because, well, we'll get to Mr. Gregory Peck in a bit, but he just seems like a sad man.
Why doesn't anyone understand that I'm right about bombing? Kids these days don't understand bombs.
Oh, there's the first one. There's our first Peck.
Had to happen sooner or later.
I love West Point. Wow, that was really got away from me.
The long gray line has never failed.
Oh God, all the speeches, so many speeches.
Which were actual fucking speeches half the time.
Yeah.
Turned
Oh
out.
yeah.
Kind of, because looking up the historical, it was that's not what. That's kind of an interpretation of what Douglas MacArthur actually said. Good thing we have all this video footage and how much they try to recreate the video footage in reality. For example, the Japanese surrenders the Japanese general's really, really bad suit.
Yeah. I had to look that up. That was one that I
could not believe that suit cannot possibly be that bad in real life. And yes, it was a good suit in real life.
Yeah. No, that's the thing about this movie is every time you think that, did that actually happen? You can go look it up because this guy was documented to high hell and back. And yeah, it's weird. Man, I was so bored by this movie. Oh God. I just have to say that.
Holy shit, sorry, I just looked that up, which I probably should have done beforehand. Not only is there footage of the real thing, but it's in fucking color.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the color footage, a lot of the stock footage that they used was color. I assume color footage from the era, or from the actual battles, or from battles that looked close enough, right?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, because this whole film was filmed in America because they said it was too expensive to ever film on site. So everything.
Yeah, the budget of this film is a problem at times.
Is that why every battle scene is 3 seconds?
Well, it's okay. So each battle
flashes going off.
Well, and no. Each battle that takes place on land, you get one chunk of land that the battle takes place on, and you will see no more than 3 Japanese planes fly over.
Oh yeah,
the same 3 planes over and over again.
Some good old A-10 Texans made to look like Zeros.
It's definitely partially budget, but I also think, and this is something I wanted to I don't think I have much to say about this myself. So, I just wanted to ask everybody, this feels like the first a movie that we have watched for this where we are we don't really get a grunt's eye view at all. We don't really get the experiential angle on things, except a few stray comments about what a diva that he's being and how he's showboating when he's driving around at the front of the lines when they go back to the Philippines, I believe.
Yeah, that's the closest we get to the grunt experience is people going what, does he think he's not going to get killed?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't get killed because he's magic,
Yeah, so I don't know. Does anyone have anything to say? I don't know how to pose it.
Oh, I think
I'm freaking out.
No. Okay, so I thought about that as I was watching it too, and I think how to put it, all the Vietnam movies and stuff people get into, they really show the grunt experience a lot more and stuff like that. And I'm wondering were people coming off of this movie because there are no grunts in this movie. The grunts exist to comment on how awesome he is, and that's it. And you get no actual experience of being in a war, which is really weird. It's just he feels so distant from the war that he is theoretically involved in.
No, but look, he's going to the front lines. We have to stop our generous leader from going to the front lines.
I was legit shocked when there was any footage in the movie of the Battle of Incheon that was more than a second long. because I was like, that had literally never happened up to that point. And yeah, sure, it's just him on a boat watching
Something happen.
watching something happen, but
Watching
still,
a light off screen
that is
flash every time the gun goes off.
That is more sustained time in a battle than any other part of the movie, to the extent that it was like, holy shit, they're spending a lot of time and effort on Incheon, which they weren't, but that's just how it hit me when I was watching it, and it took me till now to realize, wait, no, it was just a dude on a boat with some binoculars and they did some optical effects.
Greatest rear projection shot in the history of cinema.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Uploading now for this.
Oh my
anyone
god,
who's
that's
listening.
incredible.
It's fucking great. Love it so much.
Oh, come on. I love the Russian rear projection car scene and how keep in mind there's about four people that felt the need to point that out on IMDb. It's like, yeah, we got it.
An observation deck on, I guess, a battleship or something, some command, whatever. I don't know anything about ships.
It's just floating in space.
It's just floating in space, and like matted in behind it is some stock footage of some ships just chilling.
Some ships just chilling, maybe not going the same direction as the ship that they're on.
Yeah, it looks like they're in a really weird movie theater.
That look significantly rounder than the ship they're standing on, which very much looks like it was constructed of plywood for some reason.
Yeah,
why would you think that? No, this is authentic battleship footage.
The Incheon assault is all just like, oh, we have to show our hero in a moment of doubt. That's one moment of doubt.
But they don't and again, I know this is budget thing or whatever, but they spend so much time talking about how, like, approaching Incheon is going to be really rough, and it's they'll never expect us to come from there because it's a terrible place to land and blah blah blah. And then you never see Incheon; you just see him on a boat looking at Incheon.
Well, that's because we need to watch the movie Incheon to see. Yeah,
Wait, Incheon or Operation Chromite Battle of Incheon?
Oh, I think they call him. Shit. I don't know which is the one that was made by
in our Jang Sari series. Which I did want to bring up how much I do like how we're so early in our war movies. We're getting this little through line and building of like oh yeah, there's where the Thin Red Line takes place. Oh yeah, Jang Sari was also in this mix.
Yeah,
we have we have a very small like pool of films at this point, but you can see where we're building a picture.
Barely trained South Korean students were getting massacred and then abandoned on the other side of the country.
Our boy Doug.
Gregory Peck was standing here getting optical strobes on his face with his binoculars, talking about when his dad fought Geronimo.
Yep.
Yeah. It's. I love how
I may be 70, sir, but I'll let you know I still have daddy issues.
I feel so much for the Korean people, which is exactly why I approve the plan that's slaughtering literal teenagers on the other side of the continent so we can do this, and we won't get killed.
I love how they tried to like play with his age a little bit. Like you weren't really necessarily told how old he was, and then he would say things like, "Yeah, when my dad fought in the Civil War," and you're like, "Holy shit, what?"
I mean, that was as someone that doesn't know a lot about history, like finding that out, I was like, "Excuse me."
I so much so that I had to look up. It's like, okay, they didn't say which side he was on. Does that mean he was in the Confederacy? Surprisingly, no. Was Union.
West Point, I guess.
Yeah, West Point. There you go.
I mean, getting the Medal of Honor was kind of a tip off for that, because I would be kind of surprised if a Confederate got a Medal of Honor.
Obviously, the speechifying and the like misquoting Shakespeare to his wife and all that stuff is, it's the guy.
I'm just glad we know he's a good family man.
Oh yeah, he's a wife guy. Yeah, he was in West Point in like 1890. He is genuinely of a much different generation, and he hasn't been to America in God knows how long. which they make a big deal of in the movie. He's
Yeah,
genuinely of a different culture and generation. Like he is a weirdo. Everyone knows he's a
Well,
weirdo.
Yeah,
He's a sad old weirdo.
Yeah, like especially in the context of someone who got a leadership position of some form of America for like 40 years, and just all he's not really getting phone calls. He's just getting telegrams of what he should do or orders he should follow. He, in a really complicated way, he isolated himself, and it's only through those those idiosyncrasies that evolved and flourished that he became the world leader. And is this paper coming out? Is this okay?
Lest anyone who listens to us think that this movie at all depicted him as a complex, sad weirdo. This is not the movie we watched, because the movie we watched depicted him as war god on Earth.
I think it tries to do both. And
it occasionally tries to hint that he's weird, but again, that's that backing away from complexity things.
Yeah.
It's like every time it hints that he's weird, it has to go, but he's also an amazing general. And it's like, well, okay, like, give us something.
He'd kiss his troops. He'd kiss his troops right on the mouth.
Come over here, Castro.
There's the bit where he, like, you have at the beginning, okay, you're in, like, it takes, like, I don't know, a half hour for him to get out of the Philippines, which is mostly just him saying, I would rather not leave. I have to be here. I have to stay here. I'll never leave. Right?
Yeah, he's trying to Bartleby his way out of a command at that point. Like,
like
I prefer not to.
I would prefer not to. Yeah. And then he like has to tell 15 people. He's like, I will never. This is a direct order from the president. Tell everybody. Tell everybody it's a direct order from the president. He doesn't leave in a submarine because I can't sneak away in the night. I have to take my fucking wife and child on a dangerous PT boat and possibly kill them because of I'm a very special boy. I'm 62 years old. I'm a very special boy. And then he has a heart to heart with I'm blanking the guy he calls Jim. He takes off. He lands. When he gets off the train and gives his whole speech, the I Shall Return speech in Australia, he is informed that he has earned the Medal of Honor, which I looked into it, and it was just sort of a general, like, well, you're an old guy and you've done a pretty good job and whatever. It wasn't for anything real specific. But it does, in the movie, it kind of lands like, oh, you're getting a Medal of Honor because you retreated real good or something.
Yeah, because you actually listened to what we told you.
Yeah. And then later, after, when he has a whole scene where he's throwing a fit because his good buddy Jim has released a statement saying that, yep, we're giving up.
Yeah.
This is untenable. People are just going to die. He's totally fucking pissed. And then he is informed that Washington would like him to recommend Jim for a Medal of Honor. And he says, absolutely not. Dictates a statement saying, I believe that he's temporarily insane and it's driving him to make bad decisions. And there's absolutely no follow-up on that until he meets Jim, who was on the Bataan Death March.
Yeah. And is clearly like permanently, physically and emotionally scarred, just the way that he's, plays himself. And yeah, that's the
like
big follow-up you get.
also hurt by Daddy. Daddy's disappointed in me.
And but then there's like, at that point, he's suddenly, oh my God, there's nothing but a pure outpouring of love and care for Jim. Like, oh, we're best friends again.
Yeah.
And there's like this whole dynamic that they set up there that is actually potentially interesting, that washes out into Jim showing up and saying, I'm so sorry I betrayed you in the military and everything. Please forgive me, Daddy. And then Daddy saying, oh no, you don't have to apologize for anything. I hope you never read that memorandum that I made about how you suck and we're crazy.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's also what actually happened.
Yeah, just the way it plays in the movie, it's like specifically structured in a way to absolve him of, like, they gave him his fit, and you can say, well, yeah, this guy's a jerk, but then bygones are bygones, and he can go on to be more of a genius again and rule over Japan with an iron fist, or uh, no tension
Nope.
for
But
more than a
I
scene.
but I wanted to think about when I stepped away for a second. I was thinking about how the film probably does accurately describe what a genius military general is. Is that you tell the thousands of people under you to go do something, and then you find out they did it, and they're like, "Great job, you
Cool.
you made it happen."
You did it.
And
You know,
you were so far removed from anything that I don't know. Maybe it's Douglas MacArthur's genius that he did go to the front lines just for a second to see what fighting I look like.
I would have put that at, like, there's something that just completely kills the tension of this movie is every single time we get a scene where he, like, I'm going to make an impassioned speech because you got to understand that's not how you fight a war. You can't fight a war from behind. You have to attack. You got to be at the front. And he'll have a whole speech about how he's got to do that or something similar. And then it'll be like, oh, shit, is he going to get it? Did that speech do it? Or are they going to say, you're an old coot. We shouldn't listen to you. And then literally the next scene is always he gets exactly what he wants. So that little moment of, did he piss people off or did he do it? It's always absolved instantly just because of the way this film is. The movie loves deflating any kind of gravitas or tension it momentarily creates.
And then it'll have somebody like the president or Nimitz or
Yeah, Nimitz,
God
who practically
damn this
seems
fucking
the
Nimitz
way
the nemesis.
Did he just love? Yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be that, like, it's a super one-sided thing because it just seemed like Nimitz is like, I got an idea. And then he was like, "Yo, you are a dumbass, Nimitz. I respect you, but you're an idiot." And then and then Nimitz would just be like, "Oh, sure, that's a good idea too."
Yeah. It's amazing how often like that happens, like at least 2 or 3 times where Nimitz is like, no, we shouldn't do that at all. And MacArthur's like, yeah, you're an idiot and we're gonna do it. And Nimitz is like, oh, you're right, you've proven your point.
I have a story about my father, said General Douglas Shrug Arthur.
Someone doubts his genius and he goes, but I'm a genius. And they go, oh, you're right, you are a genius. How did I not see that?
Did I ever tell you about the time that I was nominated for a Medal of Honor during our extremely stupid micro invasion of Mexico in 1907 or whatever?
But that does bring to the point of the combat he saw and what's going on in World War II are so vastly incredibly different.
Like the
They
thing
didn't have
that
planes.
fascinated me, yeah, that was the thing that
They
fascinated
didn't
me.
have
Like
artillery.
he doesn't seem to know planes are a thing. Like he never he deals with it. There's a navy. He's accepted that, but like, yeah, he's just gotten like doesn't talk about using the planes at all. No.
He has a conversation with that B-52 pilot in Australia.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Then it never comes up again. It's just sort of a.
It's one of those just doesn't come
Yeah.
up again.
To show you the kind of person I'm becoming with this cast, my immediate question is, well, how would you get all those people on there by plane? I really want to know. That's the movie I want to see. I want to see the logistics of getting all those people on a plane and getting them over there. That's what I want to find out.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think it was a B-17. I don't want.
Damn it, Shrug.
I don't want newly minted plane fan Tigress to have a reason to kneecap me at any point in the future. When she realizes that
subscribe to Plane Fan in the 90s and just really like their energetic reviews.
Plane Fan, I always thought your stories were fake, but then what happened to me?
I'm glad you pulled that joke out of obscurity. So speaking of making this film complicated, like this guy is too big to be my actual guy, so I wanted to mention him here. Is that for like 5 seconds we have, I assume he's a real person, and like obviously it would have been a much more interesting story. There's like a PR journalist guy in like 2 scenes yelling about how to present MacArthur, and like there's such a big film there of having how to present the legend
Would
and
you
the
please shoot
existence
from a
of
low angle?
Yeah, no,
like
that would have been like
wrangling all the journalists on and the war correspondents on the beach in the Philippines. It's
The
like
general likes that
insane.
effect very much.
Yeah.
that would have been a much more interesting movie because it could have been a commentary on the movie that we were watching itself if it had all taken that seriously in terms of, yeah, how do we present this legend in the making as a person, you know, making him into a legend with all this footage. But like the movie is so determined that he's a legend that it's not going to examine that much more than noticing that there's a PR guy.
There's a bit like that in Apocalypse Now, where there's old Frankie Coppola rolling the 16 millimeter when Willard during the big air cav landing scene where he's yelling, "Don't look at the camera, go by and look like you're fighting," which is obviously has a different sort of weight and in the context of the Vietnam War. But I don't know. Just a few years later, the same thing would be used in a way that was actually interesting.
Yeah, in a way that actually made people think about things instead of going like, oh, I guess he had a PR guy. Okay.
Yeah. I think this entire movie should be a movie from like any minor character's point of view. Anybody that had to deal with MacArthur and not MacArthur.
Yeah, it would have been a way better movie.
Yeah.
Interesting. Literally any of the side characters.
But like the opening of the film, it like has that like few know his name. It's like no, you're right. Every fucking person knows
Every
his name.
fucking
Yeah.
everyone knows
Mhm.
MacArthur.
If all of your education on World War II was done by the time you were in 5th grade, you know at least his name.
Like I'm pretty sure in 1977, every single American and Japanese citizen and Philippine citizen knew who the fuck MacArthur was.
Yeah.
But then it's like it's fine military drilling, and we're supposed to like enjoy MacArthur's face, but the problem is it's Gregory Peck.
It's just Gregory Peck. It's not MacArthur. It's never MacArthur. It's just Gregory Peck playing MacArthur.
But can it be said that MacArthur was always playing MacArthur?
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Can you give me 5 more pages on that?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're saying that foregrounding the artifice of the character is in the movie is foregrounding the artifice of the real man.
No.
There we go.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stroke
Fascinating.
Stroking my beard. Stroking.
Gregory Peck absolutely does not disappear into this role, and
Nope.
like when Gregory Peck starts Gregory Pecking around it, you know what? When I was a soldier,
An old soldier who tried to do his duty as God gave him the light to see that duty.
and you go, I can't believe Douglas MacArthur talked like this, and you look it up and go, oh yeah, Douglas MacArthur talks like a career military guy.
An old soldier who tried to do his duty as God gave him the light to see that duty.
Gregory Peck walks around talking about when he was a small town lawyer.
Probably every single military guy I've ever met based the way they talk in speeches off of Douglas MacArthur, but he just talks like a career military guy. Or maybe that's how career military guys talk.
Yeah, is he speaking? Is he influenced by how they spoke, or are they influenced by how he spoke? Either way, the way he spoke was not Gregory Peck-ish.
No, Gregory Peck has to throw on the charm, and I don't know about Gregory Peck as a human being, but as far as screen presence, the undeniable humanity of Gregory Peck, you can't deny that, and then we're supposed to reconcile that with this being this boisterous asshole. It's like, I don't know, that's Gregory Peck doing some
He
stage
does.
acting.
Like when he turns on a dime and is suddenly like empathetic and kind and overflowing with emotion, I felt like I would buy it because it's Gregory Peck.
Yeah.
And that only made the tonal whiplash that much stronger.
Yeah, you buy him as the humanist, and then you don't buy him as the weirdo general, and it's very obvious that the weirdo general was the more normal MacArthur. Gregory Peck sort of inverts what you would want to see there.
During the Philippine bombing of him, playing with his kid during the bombing, and boy, did I not believe that happened. That's like the one scene I was like, that absolutely did not happen. He was like, shut that kid up and give him to the silent Filipino witness.
Yeah. Who's going to teach him a foreign language, according to the subtitles, but not any specific one.
Oh, yeah.
Where's my screenshot of men yelling in foreign? There it is. Men yelling in foreign language.
Did you find evidence that this Thanksgiving massacre happened? I don't understand why Americans would think Korea and China are going to recognize Thanksgiving, but
no fighting today.
There was, Korea, as much as it was like in a lot of ways very similar to very modern war in a lot of respects, it did still have negotiations and ceasefires for holiday periods. That did actually happen, I think, because they were talking, they were having conversations and stuff at the time. But yeah, I don't know if there was actually a ceasefire or anything. Certainly not peaceful enough that, and if there wasn't, yeah, nobody wouldn't have thought that it was not possible, right?
Brought up having subtitles. I wanted to take a take a moment to talk about how I saw this film and a little bit of sadness outside of directly the film MacArthur, because I rented it from my local Staya, which I just got when I went to pick up the film because they said it had it in stock. Found out they're closing next month, and that will end Rudy being able to rent terrible Japanese DVDs of our films.
Yeah.
IP.
That's I know that's like long lost, very long lost now for America, and just taking the moment to acknowledge that, yeah, I'm no more renting movies. Actually, suppose if any Sutayas are still going to exist in 2022, they're phasing out rentals in 2022.
I would just like to note that if you happen to be in Portland, Oregon, then you do indeed actually, there is in fact a video store still.
That's wonderful.
It's a non-profit, and they got the fire. They got the firehouse from Ghostbusters in there.
I believe they also have one of the shotguns from the Wild Bunch.
Oh,
so
sweet!
Yeah,
wow.
I haven't been there, but I did go to a Warren Oates and Sam Peckinpah movies double feature at Cinema 21 once years ago, where a bunch of teenagers giggled and threw things throughout Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, which is probably worse than the Korean War. Well, it's not worse than the Korean War.
War, the most malignant scourge and greatest sin of mankind, can no longer be controlled, only abolished.
Well, you three watched various digital versions, and I watched a Japanese DVD, but none of us got this according to IMDb extant scene with some representation of Emperor Hirohito on film, which is always a touchy subject, because even though we stripped him of his godhood, gotta be very careful about presenting him on film.
The only reference we can find to this other cut of the movie is the alternate version thing on IMDb, and then on Turner Classic Movies, their version of the movie is 14 minutes longer than everybody else's. So maybe that's 14 minutes with Emperor Hirohito. We'll never know, because I'm not getting a cable subscription.
Maybe it's 14 more minutes of Arthur MacArthur Jr. paddling in a pond while they're talking about military affairs for some reason.
Yeah.
In like a koi pond or something, or in some kind of Japanese garden.
Well, that was Korea, wasn't it?
He's not going to take his kid to Korea. He's going to be doing peace opera, or he's going to be doing operations from Tokyo.
He took his kid to the Philippines, according to this movie.
I would imagine that, most of American forces in Korea staged out of Japan. Maybe once he got settled in Korea, he was just like, whatever. Hey, hello, wife MacArthur.
My general's general. Usually, when you hear about General, you think you're watching Aftermash, but not today. Aftermath reference. Yeah.
So,
The most excited anyone's been about that in years.
MacArthur loved Aftermath. It was his favorite TV show. He also hated the nuclear bomb,
Hated it.
which we get to
Hated.
see in a bit of disconnected test footage, which is kind of a strange choice, honestly.
Yeah, but the reason he hates the atomic bomb seems to shift between scenes, because the first time he hates it because he had a really fun sounding ground invasion of Japan all planned out, and he seems really upset that he doesn't get to ground invade anymore.
Yeah, he's super pissed off that he doesn't get to invade Japan.
The Air Force won the war. God damn it. Not me and my big dick.
My big ground invasion dick.
What do
My
you call it?
64-year-old hog.
How was I supposed to know they were building an apparatus?
An apparatus. Yeah, that's what he calls it. An apparatus.
An apparatus that dwarfs my own.
Well, what if it doesn't work, General? But what if it does?
Oh shit, it worked.
Yeah, and then they show the footage and like, oh shit, it worked. Okay.
Oh, okay. You remind me of a scene in this film that I freaking hate because
Yes.
yeah.
Let your hatred flow.
When it does the obvious, when character goes, I don't believe this thing that actually happened in history will happen.
Yep.
Eisenhower, he'll never be president.
Oh yeah. I have Eisenhower jokes written here and underlined 5 times.
He was my best secretary, and then you like flash back to the last 2 hours. Like, what was Eisenhower in the film?
No.
Were we supposed to
No.
recognize what is
He was his secretary in 1935, which is only in his 50s.
Was I mistakenly any character in this film was a character outside of Gregory Peck as MacArthur?
Hi, it's me, Danny Kaye, as Eisenhower for one scene. There's like half a movie there of what's going on in the White House during all of this.
There's a lot of shorthand that if you didn't know what was happening, what happened, you would not know what was happening, which means I love it. It's perfect for me.
Did they even say that? Did they even say that Roosevelt like actually died? Or
No,
did they
you just get him listening to the report about his funeral. Like that's the thing. Like they never actually say Roosevelt dead. He's just like, oh, and everyone's watching his body go by.
Was
like,
this
wait,
a
what?
4Kids dub we watched?
I don't know we're pirates and thieves, or we'd be through. We're pirates.
You get Truman waiting for like wish me luck, and you're like, I don't know what he's going for luck for. And I'll be honest, idiot me. I had to go to Wikipedia and like, oh, I didn't know Roosevelt died during the war. I learned something.
You didn't know that?
No, actually, I didn't. Which
The more you know.
Yeah, you have to remember, Tigers, it's on record that I knew absolutely nothing about World War II.
And they never actually explicitly say, which again means that this is the part I love unabashedly. Just great. They never actually explicitly say that MacArthur runs for president. They just have a scene of, check out these cool posters, boss. And then someone's like, you came in over the wire. You only got 7 delegates.
8 delegates. Sorry, shrug.
Well, excuse. Well, I guess I'm still gonna be over here.
I only
Probably
got
would
8
end up-
delegates in Wisconsin. That's it. All right.
Yeah, probably would have shot somebody if I had gone to Washington anyway. Here I can shoot people without consequence through my proxies. A million of them.
Living the dream.
And then there's like a one-off comment about it later that's sort of veiled, and he tells our new president, I've never dabbled in politics. I was humiliated electorally, back in whatever. That's it. That's all. So that's my favorite part of the movie. Thanks for bringing it up.
I believe he also ran for governor another time. Never dabbled in politics.
Never dabbled in any politics.
Never was the de facto leader of any country America occupied either, which is that's completely apolitical.
The film loves to jerk itself off about whatever lie they want to present as the truth of MacArthur, as long as it makes MacArthur look genius.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is definitely like, but then the exact moment it stops making him look genius, we're on to the next thing. It's fine.
Alexander, Caesar, Napoleon all failed as occupiers of conquered countries because of the harshness of their policies. how do you, as a longtime resident of Japan and father of a Japanese national, Rudy, how do you feel about the blue-eyed shogun?
Yeah, they certainly like to say that on IMDb. I did
Yeah,
not
that's definitely true. It says it on the internet.
definitely didn't have a team of people to make sure there was always the nice Japanese in front of MacArthur. Definitely
Mhm.
didn't make sure behind the scenes the Japanese weren't working furiously to make sure that MacArthur was always being presented with the nice Japanese, not like there wasn't dissent and plenty of Japanese. I have not done enough research this film, but didn't get to ask my grandfather or my father-in-law in time because I'm sure he has plenty to say as someone that was 6 when the occupation started
Mhm.
and the youngest of 9. So probably has a few things to say about what MacArthur did for the country. The thing I can say is that that Hokkaido thing is absolutely true. And once again, if Tigris would like to point out what is all world history.
Yes, all of world history is preventing Russia from a warm water port. Sorry, I wasn't thinking about Russia much in this movie because Russians only come up like 3 times in it.
When he threatens to get that Soviet general arrested.
Yeah.
But they're in the background because that's the whole Korea happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're like, shit, okay, Russia really, really wants Hokkaido. We gotta give Russia something to back them off. Okay, how about we just cut this country that's been under occupation for 20 years in half?
And there was also something related. The Japanese POWs was related to the bifurcation of Korea. I'm fuzzy right now.
And, taking decades-long occupied countries and cutting them in half was all the rage in the aftermath of World War II.
Worked out great for
Mhm.
everybody.
Definitely did not create any conflicts that are continuing pretty much endlessly to this day. Definitely.
Nope.
The arbitrary lines of colonialism have been nothing but good for all the peoples of the world. I think
Yeah.
we can agree on that. That is the official position of Hinge Problems Warmovis Gaiden.
The lines of colonialism are a 100% benefit for everyone.
Which
There
is
was
why
like,
the Middle East has known nothing but peace since the end of World War II.
You know,
Yeah.
and the India-Pakistan border, never problems there. Nope.
Yep.
Totally great.
a lone thought I had was just Chris was talking about the scene where MacArthur says that he basically wants to do a kind of soft socialism in order to nurture Japan away
He
from
wants-
their fascism.
He wants the workers to control the companies and start. And he
Yeah.
wants to start a labor party, and it's like, what?
And
Okay.
some of his advisors are like, "That sounds kind of like the New Deal, bro. Do you really think that's?" And he comes up with an excuse, and then later he's all gung ho about Korea because that's just how he is. But also he says that it is my destiny to defeat communism.
After I started in Japan.
Yeah, but I feel like that dovetails pretty neatly with his history of like, okay, we are going to take this people underneath our civilizing wing. So we can do whatever in order to, I might not, these politics may not be important for I would imagine, a strong and morally developed nation like the United States that has never done a crime like nuking 2 civilian population centers. But in order to cultivate American-style democracy in post-war Japan, we're gonna do some soft socialism.
Yeah.
Because it's okay. It's okay at this stage. I, the fucking new daddy of Japan, say so. Like, I feel like there's an obvious conflict there, and it's funny, but it's also easily resolvable if you just consider the ways in which he is a shithead.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's an obvious conflict, but it is like the obvious conflict of like so much of American colonial history to just be like, it's not a problem because we're doing it.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't want to speak with authority on there because it feels like I need to read about 9 books in 2 languages about the issue because everything involving what happened in Reconstruction is a rotating door of. Actually, it was this guy. It was Shidehara, the first prime minister in the post World War II idea. He was only prime minister for 6 months because he was too leftist.
U.S. government has pretty much consistently supported nothing more nothing more left than center-right parties pretty much forever, right? That is my recollection. I believe the current ruling party of Japan is like the descendant of various parties that all kind of go from the first one that kind of was established, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, the
Like,
guys
right-
in charge. The guys in charge now are all descendant of a bunch of war criminals that were in power until they were briefly removed in power, thanks to one a little man not known well to history. I'm sorry, I did a Trump impression there. Little, not well known to history. You might know him, General Douglas MacArthur.
Who?
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. It's a little.
I
He affected your life. I don't know if you knew this, but he
like
did it.
he affected millions of lives. I
Yeah.
like the bit, by which I mean I don't really like the bit where they're talking to the scene where he's talking to the prime minister, is totally not a Californian doing a bad Japanese accent. In the text, of course, MacArthur rails for one reason or another against how terrible nukes are. And in fact, it feels like the movie is going to end when he gives a speech on the battleship, and they're signing the friggin' the peace agreement. But no, it goes on for quite a really long time.
Yeah, like another
There's-
half hour at least.
Yeah,
after
there's
that.
a bunch more movie, but he comes to beg MacArthur to please let us not have any kind of army in Japan. Please allow this. And one of the things he says is we can't have another. Obviously, he's shy about being undone by huge imperial ambitions again, but also we can't have another Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So the movie kind of says, well, it might be horrible, but it works. It underscores and reinforces the narrative that the bombs are necessary, even though it's about somebody that constantly says the bombs were terrible. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Also, 10 seconds of Googling has indicated, I mean, admittedly, it wasn't a stipulation that it was going to be in the Constitution, but as I had understood, the complete dismantlement of the Japanese military was, in fact, a stipulation of the surrender of Japan, if I remember my history correctly, which Wikipedia says I do.
Yeah, that's why we didn't have any zeros for filming all the World War II movies of the last 60 years.
I do use those three.
Yep, because we destroyed them all. So we're getting close to review time, but I feel like we do need to mention one of the weird things of this film is all the fisheye lens and like the long what's that? Who was West Wing guy? West Wing
Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin?
Yeah, the weird. There's a couple of weird walk and talks. There's
Yep.
there's a couple single shot walk and talks in this film, which I was surprised to see for a 1970s film, and also this film of all things.
Cameras were getting smaller, and
Yeah.
cinematographers were getting excited.
That's kind of the near market. There's a surprising amount of sometimes very like meat and potatoes, boring cinematography, but sometimes they let themselves play a bit.
Yeah, there are times when the director's roots as a 60s TV show director definitely are there. You're like, oh, I am watching a 60s TV show and how this is staged. But then every once in a while it's like, hey, we have this camera that we can like just walk down the corridor of a train with while just holding it. And that's kind of fascinating. It's like, oh wow, okay, we can do this.
Whenever the movie has an interesting shot, it's just such a happy little surprise.
There's some really, really great low light stuff. There's on
Yeah.
the PT boat, there's some really striking magic hour stuff. Say it with me. Magic hour.
Magic hour.
Magic hour.
Magic hour.
And then that really
It's
boring like
when-
5 minutes of mines scene.
Oh,
It's when the dragons can't see it, magic hour, and that's when Douglas MacArthur strikes. Is Reign of Fire a war movie? Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes,
No, no.
yes, yes.
I'm not watching
yes.
Rain of Fire again.
You're
I am not
outvoted here. You're outvoted 3-1.
I am
Rain of
not
Fire's a
fucking
war
watching
movie.
Rain of Fire again.
We're putting it
Put
on
the
the
word
list.
rain in it. Sounds good enough for me.
I mean, you say that, but it's about dragons.
Yeah.
It's actually a metaphor for for America's entry into World War II.
Wow. Okay, that sounds great.
So, but with dragons.
But with dragons.
Was
yeah.
there someone making an actual point before review, or
Probably not.
There's cool cinematography sometimes. Sometimes, and then it's followed up by really boring scenes where they are watching a mine go by.
Okay, Shug just posted a picture, and I have to say the scene where he's like getting his 5th star, and then everything's exploding, and he's just chilling on the Jeep while everyone else is freaking out.
That was
scene
hilarious.
That was great. That was like the great scene in the movie.
like, oh, well, there was MacArthur. Out of all the other things, like in that scene, you saw General Douglas MacArthur.
Yeah. When everyone else is like, hey, you know what? I don't want to get hit by shrapnel or bombed or anything. Douglas MacArthur stands there and goes, yeah, that's an explosion.
You just say, you don't get through bullets by running away. You walk right towards the bullet. You run head first at the bullet and attack the bullet before it attacks you.
A bullet will never see it coming. Bullets are used to people trying to avoid them.
But do we see the reviews coming?
We see the reviews coming in that very scene, which embodies so much of the weird tonal shit going on in this movie, where things seemingly unconnectedly happen to each other on a regular basis as he's standing there watching explosions while everybody else is jumping away, and some guy just randomly runs up to him and says, hey, guess what? You're a 5-star general now. Here's your pins. And he goes, oh, that's awesome. Cool. I like those. So in the tonal shift that represents, which is just completely out of nowhere and doesn't really seem to have anything to do with, except now that he has 5 stars on his collar for the rest of the movie. That is our rating system for this movie, is going to be the number of 5-star pins from 1 to 5. 1 to 5, 5-star pins is the ranking for this movie.
Finally, stars.
Yeah, we're finally using stars.
The rating system is 5 stars.
Yeah, the ranking system is bunches of 5 stars. Meaning that if you really like this movie, in theory, we could have a 25-star movie. I'm gonna spoiler alert here. I don't think anybody's gonna get to that level of enthusiasm.
That lets you be a general. I think if you're a 25-star general, that gives you jurisdiction over the solar system, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Not even the president can fire you.
You can actually fire the president if you get that 25th star. That's what it lets you do. Yeah. And so in that regard, I'm going to give my rating for this movie, which is exactly 1 5-star pin. This movie was so boring to me. This movie made me think of the Roger Ebert review where he was writing about a movie that he hated, and he kept starting to write about other movies. So he set a kitchen timer to remind himself to write about the movie that he didn't like. And I kept having to do that with myself during this movie of like, okay, I need to just watch this movie. I keep thinking about other things, because every time it just sort of veered off into MacArthur gives another speech, or, oh, hey, there's a war going on, but you're not going to see any of it. I was bored out of my mind. And I kept wondering if this movie actually liked Douglas MacArthur, because, I mean, I could tell they wanted us to like Douglas MacArthur, but it couldn't seem to settle on who Douglas MacArthur was and if he was likable as a person or as a general or anything. Like, it was so weird and incredibly long and incredibly boring. So it gets exactly 1 5-star pin from me. So 5-star movie. There we go. On that regard, I will ask Tigress, what was your opinion of the movie?
Definitely, with the exception of my very particular specific hatred of hotshots, which kind of makes that movie feel like it's out of the conventional rating system. This was definitely the worst movie we've watched so far. Something I observed while we all watched this movie was 3 out of 4 of us in the Discord just said, this blows or this sucks about 10 minutes after starting to watch the movie.
I'll admit, I was like 5 minutes in. I didn't even make it that far.
Yeah. Like, we all... I mean, so just at the end of the 5-minute long marching band sequence at the beginning of the movie, impressive. I don't even know what this movie was supposed to fucking be. Like, it just is a series of things that happen about a guy, sometimes contradictory, but not like in smart contradictory ways. It's just, here's a slice of about 10 years of things that are happening with this dude. Sometimes they'll introduce stuff that feels like it's going to set up for an arc, like when he's like, hi, Castro. There's this guy named Castro. And then he comes back to the Philippines and he's like, hi, Castro. Oh, I see you've been tortured horribly in the intervening time since I've seen you. You're a good egg in my book for getting tortured. And that's like halfway through the movie. Like, that felt like, oh, this would be a perfect place to end the movie. And I paused it because I needed to get a drink or something. And it was halfway through. And I couldn't. That was a breaking point for me with this film. And it's like, this movie just had a whole narrative arc, and we're only halfway through. I believe I described Korea as feeling like DLC, which it's in this film, where it's just like, okay, we had a movie. We had a denouement of the movie, which is all the stuff where he's the kind, gentle, brutal dictator of Japan. And then nothing. Just like, oh wow, we're gonna do Korea really fast. We got 20 more minutes. Let's do Korea. Almost like they were trying to fill up time. And I don't know what I was supposed to get out of it other than I kind of think I hate General Douglas MacArthur a lot. Another classic 5-star film out of 25 stars. And since Rudy vanished for a second, I'd like to know what Shrug thought about this movie.
Well, I did not tell the chat this sucks. I like to reserve judgment and cryptically imply things through the screenshots that I pre-post. I think this movie gestures at a potentially interesting portrait of a flawed and terrible human being, but it likes him too much. And it's too invested in that point of view to even attempt to be. Like, I don't think you can be honest in even a non-fictional portrayal or biography of something. You can't be objective. You can't say everything and about everyone or everything and just by the details that you choose to include and not you are editorializing. And this, I know that this was, Gregory Peck hated the script, insisted on a lot of rewrites that might help explain the weird Frankenstein monster that we got. It seems like it is at war with itself, perhaps in much the way that MacArthur was. Like, there's an unresolvable tension in it that doesn't feel intentional. It's just a product of sloppy filmmaking. It was really fucking boring. There's approximately 17 cool shots in it that I don't regret seeing. And Gregory Peck misquotes Othello. And for Gregory Peck misquoting Othello and reminding me of my dad when he's talking about his dad, I give this 1 2/5 of 5 out of 5 5-star clusters.
So 7 stars.
7 stars out of 25.
All right.
Mostly because of the dad things. I'm inescapably myself. Rudy,
Yes.
what do you think?
This is a bad film. It's boring. It has confused messaging. You cannot escape Gregory Peck and how much Gregory Peck is going to the role. I have seen a film where Gregory Peck plays a disgraced Spanish rebel, and he fell more into that role without an accent than here. You can't replace Douglas MacArthur with Gregory Peck because you're just going to get Gregory Peck. That's why you get Gregory Peck in a role. So it doesn't work there. But I wish I'd seen this film in high school, because this actually did, in its stupid, terrible way, it does give you a crash course of here's a bunch of things that happened. And if you didn't know all these things that happened, well, here's some version of actual history, because as I was reading and looking up archival footage, you go, oh, yeah, that actually did happen. A lot of it actually did happen. Could not find any speeches MacArthur gave on how bad nuclear weapons are. Feel that was a bit of revisionism on the part of the 1970s. But this is a bad film that opens and begins with a completely pointless 45 to 3.5 hours footage of West Point military drilling. I give it 1 5-star out of a possible 5 stars. And let me tell you, that's not a high rating. But there is something that we can always find a high rating for. Chris, who is your guy?
Oh, my guy was the briefly present Pretty Man, who is MacArthur's personal servant, maybe, for exactly one scene. He just shows up and he tells him to do something, calls him by name, and then he just leaves again, and he's never in the movie ever again.
Where is this?
It's in the middle of the movie. It is like MacArthur's in like an office or something, and he tells Pretty Man, who is a brown person you're given no story on this person at all, to go get him something, and he calls him Pretty Man. He's like, "Hey, Pretty Man, go do this," and Pretty Man's like, "All right," and then he runs out, and then he never is in the movie again. He disappears entirely, and for me, he was amazing. One, for how a movie that is theoretically so much about places where non-white people are, there are very few non-white people in this movie, and he is just so backgrounded to MacArthur. And as we talked about earlier, literally any character that wasn't MacArthur in this movie would be more interesting to watch the movie from the perspective of, and that even applies to Pretty Man in his one brief 15-second long scene. So, with that in mind, I'm going to ask who Shrug's guy was.
Well, after much and fevered debate within my own skull, I have concluded that my guy is the dude on the PT boat that is seen during the mine scene. He's on the side. He doesn't have a pole. There's a guy with a pole, and he's just in a few shots looking at their like single mine prop, looking nervous and kind of jogging back and forth to keep an eye on it. And the guy with the stick is like 10 feet away from him, in a position to do something about the mine. And the no stick guy is just nervous and in the frame and watching like he's helping. And I related deeply to this guy. That'd probably be me in that situation. So I love no stick mine watching guy. Stuck on a boat with Gregory Peck. In a really long sequence that shouldn't be in the movie.
Yep.
I was pretty sure the second mine they navigated by was the same shot as the first shot.
Yeah, it was. It incredibly was. It exactly was.
And they don't even just reuse one shot. There's like 3 shots that they just reuse.
Yeah.
Incredible.
In the same sequence, it's great. Oh, we're gonna have tension here. Okay. Fine, whatever. Speaking of tension, Tigress, who was your guy?
Sweet, nobody picked my guy. My guy, okay, so sometime after he comes back to the Philippines, there's a rainy day. He gets some good news from HQ. I don't remember what the good news is. He was probably, yeah, we're gonna blow up what you want to blow up, us to blow up again. That happens like 8 times in the movie, so it might as well be one of those 8 times. But there's this guy who is writing something on a typewriter in the rain, who is so hype. Like he's like typing on the typewriter and he's grinning on the typewriter, and then I forget why he pulled something out of the typewriter. He doesn't have a single line, but he like hops out with his glasses and he beams and he smiles and he hands his typewritten paper to someone at this rainy office, and then the scene moves on from him. And he's got so much personality and so much enthusiasm for being a guy with no lines typing up a report in a rainstorm. And I saw that guy and I was like, this is the guyest guy I've seen in a long time. I love this guy. And that's my guy.
All right, that leaves my guy. And I made mention before that there was absolutely zero chance that my co-host would pick my guy. So much so that I'm sorry, dear audience, you will not be able to hear who my guy is. I will have to bleep it out when I edit it. And that is because my guy
Wow.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
Oh no!
Wow.
Oh my god! We can't have this in the cast. This is the most incredible thing that's ever happened in a movie.
Wow! Whoops! Congrats, Rudy. I don't know if you know this, but
Hi, listeners. You can hear that we can't believe what Rudy just said, but trust us, it was a fucking doozy.
Yeah.
yeah. Ooh.
The probability.
Jeez. Nobody would have picked that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I said there was absolutely zero chance that you would
And there
pick my
was
guy.
Holy shit! Holy
Yeah, no.
shit!
There was
Again,
no...
listeners, it just sounds like a bit, but it isn't. Holy shit!
Know that it's pretty weird and pretty weird.
uncomfortable.
See, I was
Yeah.
convinced it was gonna be, hey, one of these dudes was in the exact time, place, and looks exactly like your grandfather.
My
That's what I was-
my dads again.
Yeah.
One day.
That's
That's for
great.
another time. That's for another
Holy
time.
shit, that 6-year-old.
But hey, you know what? You know what isn't awkward? If you want us to record a 6-hour podcast about every single joke and hot shots, you can just send $50 to hingeproblems@gmail.com. And once we receive 10 students, we will record a 6-hour podcast explaining every single joke and hot shots. The
Every
original
single
hot
one.
shots. Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing is funnier than explaining jokes.
If we get 20 students, maybe we'll do Hot Shots Part 2, you know?
If we get 37, we'll do season 1 of 2.5.
No.
Um,
no.
That would take. I don't have that kind of
Ah.
time. It would take at least 370 people giving us $50 for me to do.
Or, yeah, at least. You're giving us, but not Tigress, $50 so that we could watch that. I'm not even going to say what it was, Shrug. I don't want to.
Yes.
Well, I didn't say the full title, so who knows what I meant.
Yeah,
Who
no.
knows? Who knows who won? But hey, if you like the show, tell your dad, tell your uncles. Maybe they would like for leftist take down one of history's greats.
My folks still keep listening to Radiolab instead of this, so you know.
Everyone makes mistakes, right? Yeah.
I believe if my
podcasts
father was
exist.
still alive, he'd like this show.
I think my dad doesn't know what podcasts really are, so it's cool.
I think
I'm
my
gonna keep it
mom
that
might
way.
listen to Ben Shapiro,
Oh, no.
and his politics are much different than ours.
But also, hey, you know what? We have a lovely little short name for this project. It's called Warmovis, WARMOVIS. Use that hashtag on places. Tell people about the show. We're proud of it. We're almost at 10 episodes, in which case I'll be actually proud of this show. We need to know what we're watching next time, and so the question always remains: who has a D20?
I do.
Ah!
Oh, damn.
I
Oh,
do.
okay.
I've got
and then
I've got like
we-
6 of them.
and then we
Wow.
navigate over to our pinned messages list.
I've been playing role-playing games for almost 20 years. No one should be surprised by this.
Oh, no, I always have them. I just don't have them right here.
I have them here, so I win the race.
So the way we select movies as Tigris prepares the dice is that we each select at any time 5 films of a war variety, and it's selected off. So Shrug is 1 to 5, Tigris is 6 to 10, Chris is 11 to 15, and I am 16 to 20. And upon that dice roll, we will choose our next film. We are at 1 Rudy movie. And I'll tell you, we definitely have a 25% chance of watching a submarine film next time, because I wanted to. We haven't watched a submarine film yet.
You're gonna watch watching a goddamn submarine film, huh?
And of course, we have 2 films on Shrug's list that he's not prepared to watch yet.
One.
And of course-
That's a reroll.
probably.
And of course, if we get my list, there's like a not small chance that we're going to go to both Japan, a cartoon, and space.
Oh, cool.
Excellent.
But yeah,
Let's roll them bone. Good
ooh, a 12, a 12.
Ooh, a 12.
The
Oh, that's going-
bridge at
Yes!
Remagen.
Remagen.
Remagen. The bridge at
Yeah.
Remagen.
Yes.
Bridge at Remagen.
That doesn't sound real.
People are gonna learn. I don't know how to say Remagen.
Yeah. This is a meat and potatoes World War II film. We got
1969.
yeah. This is
Nice.
right
Nice.
in the right space. You got
Ooh.
an American story. You got the noble Nazi story. This is in the closing days of World War II. This is a good one.
George
Shit,
Siegel.
I'm
Shot on
excited.
location in Czechoslovakia.
George
All right.
Siegel is pure sex.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever said that until this day. I just said a totally unique sentence.
Yeah, by the way, he is pure
article.
sex playing Lieutenant Phil Hartman.
What?
Wow. Well,
That
even
That is
better.
his name in the movie is Lieutenant Phil Hartman. So
The
This
Nazis
could
are on
be-
the ropes. They've got bridges. Do they want to blow up the bridges? Do they want to keep the bridges? We want those bridges.
those bridges are our bridges,
Surprise
or are
news.
they?
That bridge was made for you and me.
You're saying that this movie should have starred Jeff Bridges, maybe?
Oh. I mean,
Oh.
if they remade it.
A 6-year-old Jeff Bridges?
Will this movie be a better movie about bridges than Saving Private Ryan? I'm gonna bet so.
I am super excited to watch this film again. I'm happy that we're going to get just a war movie, just a good old war movie. I'm excited about it, and I've been Rudy.
And I've been Chris.
I've been Tigris.
I am afraid that I have been Shrug.
And I'll let someone else do it.
Shoot the hinges?
Shoot the hinges.
Shoot the hinges.
Shoot the
Pew,
hinges.
pew, pew.
Totally scarring war movies.
That good? Do we have the material we need there?
I feel like we could edit something together there. Yeah.
We.
Yeah, I'll look. I'll do that. If you want me to edit together the intro for you, I will do that.
Okay,
I will
cool.
make that
I could do
sacrifice.
the intro, yeah, if it's just doing the intro. I
know.
could do that. I could knock that out in like 10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
I know it can be difficult to say my ridiculous sentences, and I'm sorry.
Totally scarring